How's it going, everybody? It's Jeff from Finance Blueprints, and today we're going to be talking about the in-depth guide for our personal finance tool, the premium version. So if you haven't already seen that and you're more interested in, what is actually in this file, I just want a quick overview. If you go to financeblueprints.com and then you go to the personal finance tab and you scroll down to the bottom, you could click on that video right here. This will take you to a 13-minute quick start guide. But today we're taking a step further, and we are looking at the file in detail. So we're going to cover things like, how do I even get started? What am I entering and where? What do the definitions mean? How do I read the reports? And it's going to be roughly an hour, I presume. So make sure you take breaks. Make sure you take a lot of notes and congratulate yourself for really taking the step towards bettering your family, bettering your future and your relationships by taking care of your personal finances. Okay. So just a quick overview, like why we even created this file. Okay. I've been in finance for over a decade, and, personal finance has been a really big focus of my life just because I know that it improves everything from my relationship with my wife to making sure my kid has food on the table to being motivating for things like seeing my net worth grow, or even when I got out of debt, which I'll show you the month that I had my Dave Ramsey debt-free scream. It was super memorable. So I want to be able to take my 10 years of working in finance. I've worked in corporate finance for some of the biggest companies in the world. I've managed billions of dollars of portfolios. I have done consulting on the side. I've helped startups not only raise capital, but, sell off their companies. And I've worked in real estate, and I've had a lot of modeling experience. So I'm taking extremely complex ideas and using that professional experience to simplify things and make it impactful for the everyday user. So you don't have to be in finance to understand what all of this stuff is, but to build this, right? And making the inputs easier and everything that comes along with that. So why is this even useful, right? I have this quick side-by-side showing you finance blueprints on this in this column. And then here's a lot of the apps that I like to not like to use, excuse me. I choose to not use the apps. I've been using this tool that we're going to review since 2017. But a lot of people like to use Mint and YNAB and some other apps. And I don't want to say it's detrimental, because there are some benefits to using these applications, but there's so many things that it doesn't do that I wanted to make sure that you feel supported with the finance blueprints. And we'll talk about that. And then there's also the basic budget templates that I see out there on Fiverr, and even like a lot of these TikTokers and YouTubers, they're literally putting like pen and down to paper, and they're expecting you to be able to make financial decisions based upon napkin math. And it's horrible in my opinion. So that's why this is so, you might hear the baby crying in the background. This is so personal to me because I really want to improve as many lives as we can by creating a great product. So finance blueprints, right? It tracks past spending. They all do that. But this one actually forecasts your future cash flow, right? You'll be able to look forward and say, hey, this is my goal, which I'll help you set up. And how long will it take me to be able to get to that goal? And then if it's too long, or it's going to take too long to be able to get there, then, what are the decisions that I have to make in order to be able to get there quicker, right? That's something that we cover with this tool. This also tells you when to save versus when to invest, right? What stage are you in? When can you invest? How should you be investing, right? How can we be able to automate a lot of these things? And then this is fully customizable as well too. So you can make it your own, and I'll show you the levers that you can pull. It's a one-time cost, no subscription fees. A lot of the apps you got to pay, monthly. This is just one time, and making it super cheap for the value that, I hope that you're going to be getting. And then automated insights and recommendations. Like I said, this is going to be tailored to you in your scenario, which is really unique. Where on the other hand, a lot of these basic budget templates, it just says, hey, here's what you spent in this category, good luck. We'll show you how to be able to cut down on certain subscriptions. We even give you scripts on what to be able to say and what has the highest probability of saving you money, and then let alone making more money, right? Which is a lot of the other tools on financeblueprints.com. That's what we help with. And it gives you investor ready like net worth tracking. You're going to feel like you can invest in yourself with all the different reports that we have, right? We're going to make it exciting for you. and then cash flow and expense planning, which is not super sexy, but it's 100% needed. Okay. So those are the things that make, finance blueprints different than these other applications. So with that, let's jump into the actual file. First I have, and we're going to be toggling back and forth. We're going to be looking at, the file when you first open up, and then we're going to look at the file here, which is my live file. I'm using the same version 1.5 at the time. It's May 17th, 2025. And this has my actual numbers in here. Like, here's my budget. I'm spending $11,214 per month. Right, here's my 6 months of savings target. This is how much I need to, right? We'll go through my actual numbers, but first let's take a pause and kind of walk you through the file more in depth than we did in the quick start video. So these black tabs are reference tabs here. There's no action items on these. And these yellow tabs are the only tabs, there's 2 of them, where you're going to be making inputs, okay? And here's a color key, not to jump around too much, but here's the color key. It's referenced throughout all the files. So here's a drop down. You could either click down this little arrow, or you can be able to press Alt or your Windows key, then the down arrow, and then you could choose from the different drop downs. And then yellow is always going to be manual input. And then anywhere we have positive numbers like your net income or your assets, right? Those should be green. Those should be positive, and those are referenced with this green colored cell. And this like orangey salmon color is kind of all like the bad guys, your expenses and your liabilities. And that'll be referenced throughout all, even the report tabs and on these yellow tabs here. And then there's directions on every single tab. So if you scroll down, there's typically a Q&A. So just as a quick example, scrolling down, you have a couple call outs right here. Q&A is above on this section here. But if you scroll down, let's see. Yeah, Q&A at the bottom of each one. There's directions on each one of the tabs. Okay, so we have 2 different input tabs. We have our budget, which is going to be our step 1, and then we have our step 2 and 3, and it's all going to be on one tab. And this is your monthly tracker. So we'll go back and show you how to do that in detail. And quickly, here's your different report tabs. So there's 3 of them, and they're blank right now because we have no data in there. There's going to be your net worth. It's going to show you your T12, your last year, how's your net worth doing. It's going to show you your asset split right here. This is going to show you your asset split minus your primary residence. Right here is going to have your highlights, right? Are you doing good or bad within your net worth, your good debt, your bad debt? Well, we're going to talk about what all of those are. This is a comparative data table right here where you can look at your current month versus, different time horizons to see, am I doing well versus when I started? How am I doing versus 3 months ago versus last year? Very important to visualize and to help you make decisions on, forward looking choices. Okay. And these tabs will also help you kind of tee up, decision making. So this is all of your cash dashboard. We'll go through the different types of cash and how we, quantify it in these different categories. And then here is how much cash do I have left over at the end of each month. It's a little bit of a simplistic way to look at it. And then over here, this is our bread and butter, right? Here's a 50, 30, 20 rule. And we'll review what that is, but this is an ideal way and pretty much the most recommended way from any CFA that you talk to of how they're going to want your dollars to be spent, right? And we'll kind of review that. And this will show you if are you performing good against that or bad against that, and it'll help you make some decisions, okay? And then down here, this will make more sense when you go to my report. But this is your total monthly expenses. This is going to be your fixed and then your variable over here on the right. And then from your variable expenses, we're going to say, hey, are we overspending? Are we underspending? And do we need to be able to go make our adjustments in our budget? And then we would go and, find ways to be able to save money over here based upon, the results of what your report tabs are telling you. And down here, this is kind of the same concept, but more so around like fixed expenses and then subscriptions, right? We really get into the nuts and bolts of this. So let's come back to the directions tab and let's scroll all the way to the top here. So let me make sure that we're still recording. Okay. So this is your dashboard or your directions tab. Okay. So we have a total of 8 different steps. So you can see the arrow here. Once you go down to step 6, step 7, and 8 is very circular. So if you look at like these couple stages just right here, stages 4, 5, and 6. If you've ever listened to the Dave Ramsey podcast, this is exactly where it comes from, because he's the person that I actually talked to when I was in, negative $40,000 of credit card debt, and he helped me get out of there. And, what happened after that is, fundamentally my investment strategies have changed. So you'll see different influencers like Robert Kiyosaki and like Ryan Pineda and Grant Cardone. A lot of them are going to be in this file too once you're in that position. And this essentially will tell you automatically what stage that you're in. Right? So first we'll need to set up your budget, right? Because you haven't set up your budget yet. This tells you the status that you're in. So as you progress throughout the stages, this you're here will update, and all of these comments will update as well for you. Okay, it's a very, very prescriptive base. So how often do we want to be able to update your budget? It's twice a year. I recommend just picking out maybe on your birthday, then 6 months later, or just find a time to at least update your budget twice a month. Okay, then this number will tell you how much money that you're actually spending. And then this will tell you the status. So you need to track at least 1 month of your budget and then your monthly tracker, and then you'll be able to move on to stages 2, 3, and 4. Okay, this will tell you the next steps right here. So once you set up your budget, then you're going to start tracking your net worth. That's going to be on the stage 2 and 3 tab. And then after you do that, you're starting tracking your controllable expenses. And we'll work through each of these one at a time. So after you have your file set up, your first goal is to save up 1 month's expenses for your emergency fund. But you need to figure out how much money you're spending in a month, right? So we'll go through that. And if you have saved up your emergency fund, then you'll move on to step 5, which is pay off all of your credit card and all of your other bad debt. So this file will automatically aggregate all of your bad debt in your credit cards into a specific section. So you'll know whether or not you paid it off, right? It'll tell you how much you have here, and you want this to be 0. If you're 0, then it'll be good here. So once you have all that paid off, then the next is to save up at least 6 months of emergency funds. And you could be able to choose that number. I'll show you where to choose your months. Like my wife, as an example, is a little bit more conservative than I am. So she wanted to do, like a year of savings of liquid cash. And that's just money that you could access right away, right? But me, on the other hand, I'm a little bit more, risk averse. So I would actually be comfortable with 3 months, but who knows what's going to happen, right? She recently stopped working at her job. What if I lose my job? We need to make sure that we have enough reserves here. So the number that I'm currently using right now is 6 months. And then I'll jump over to my file in a second here, and you'll see this is the step that I'm actually on right here. My file says you are here, and I'll tell you why. And then after that, you're going to create your ideal asset mix, and then you're going to start deploying your capital. I'm going to teach you how to automate all of these things, and that's going to get really not advanced at all because we're going to make it simple for you, but it's going to get really exciting because now you're actually building wealth, right? But the first step always is understanding where you are, understanding how much money you're spending every single month, and then starting to make decisions that will help you improve your situation. Okay. So the dashboard review, we kind of went over that. You have your net worth dashboard, cash dashboard, your budget expenses. And then on each of the yellow input tabs, there's a Q&A, and then common definitions can be found all over the file. But if you hover over the cells, or if you just listen to this video that we're going through right now, we'll be able to get you access to that. So this is a little video section. We're actually recording the detailed start guide right now. I'm estimating that to be 60 minutes, right? Well, it'll be hyperlinked for you. And then we're going to do a deep dive into dashboards and advanced tips and tricks and doing all of these different things, right? Okay, so the first tab right here is our money map illustration. And, I'll speak to it a little bit, but we're going to hold it off just because those are for people that have actually purchased the file. And that walks you through what accounts you need to have open and how your money is going to be moving to your different accounts. So we're going to talk about a couple different philosophies today, but under the assumption that you are married, right? This follows the Dave Ramsey principle where there is no your money, there is no our money, okay? So there's no your money and my money, it's only our money. So with this tool, we're going to have different opportunities to have conversations with your partner to make decisions on what you're going to be doing with your extra income that's going to be coming in. how did we do last month, and find different areas to be able to work on that communication. Okay. And you're going to have all the money flowing into one specific area. You're going to have what we call bucket accounts, or slush accounts. That's another name for it. But how to be able to live your life as normal as can possibly be, right? And I'll show you what that means with the bucket accounts. But while still living within your means to be working towards a common goal. That's what this money map illustrations tab will walk you through. So the first step is setting up your budget. So here we can just read through the directions. So you use the drop downs in columns N through O, and then inputs the yellow cells within P through Q. And then you have a comment section over here. So there's lots of notes on the right side. I'm not going to go through all of them, but make sure you're reading them as you're inputting all of these. It'll give you tips and tricks here. Okay. So when it comes to this file at the highest level, on top you have your income at the top, and then you have your income, which is the salmon color below, and it's split out into these different categories. So you have housing, childcare, food, transportation, miscellaneous, and then your wants are made up of your subscriptions, lifestyle, you have your debt, and then what I call the bucket total. Okay. And then this is kind of stage 5 and that stage 6 that I was talking about. So we'll come back to this at the end. So how do you fill this out? So first you're going to choose, what this is. So like, my name is Jeff. So this is Jeff's job. So my current take home is something like 4,300, and that's going to be bi-weekly. So what you want to notice, a couple things here. Let's do one more thing. Let's do bonus. So we'll do Jeff's bonus here. So both of these numbers here, this is going to be your net. So if my job is like $200,000 job and I get 10%, that's $20,000. Instead of putting $20,000, I'm going to put what that net is. And the reason for that is, let's just say it's like $10,000 or so dollars right here. The reason is because I don't give a damn about your gross. Your gross doesn't mean anything, because what we're trying to understand here is we're trying to create a zero-based budget, meaning every single week I get every 2 weeks we get $4,300 or $8,600 a month, right? Which is your bi-weekly times 2. Okay. This is the true money that you have, that you're making, and this is the true money that's going out. Okay. So there's one thing that looks very funny on this file right here, where this is $8,600 a month, but this is $111,000 annually, right? We have to be able to fill in the expenses, but the fundamental change here is you have 2 extra paychecks per year if you get paid bi-weekly. And let me flip to my report real quick just to get the months for myself. So, because you have 26 paychecks in a year. So 3 of those paychecks in a month are for me, it's going to be May and October based upon my pay schedule. Okay. This, as an example, is the net income, right? The annual, the changes. This annual number does not equal the monthly number times 12. It's because this annual number, we're treating the third paycheck in a year that we're getting twice, right? Treating that differently. We're going to treat that differently, meaning every time we get that extra paycheck, we're going to be able to put it directly inside of whatever our goal is, either to save money or to invest money. And then our bonuses are treated differently as well too. So our goal is to live off of that 2 paycheck calculation. Okay, that's the goal. That's the goal right there. So going back to the raw file here, and we're filling out these different expenses. So we have housing as an example. This is blank, and I'll show you mine, but let's say rent or mortgage, whatever that it is. You have to choose the billing cycle, and this will impact the subsequent columns over here. So most people pay monthly. Choose what type of expense it is, and this is very important because this will impact your reporting tabs here. You have your fixed expense, and then you have your variable expense. A fixed is a cost that does not change, okay? Meaning it doesn't change based upon the volume of spend or activity. So rent or mortgage is typically held the same every single month, right? Let's see that it's 3,400. But if we go down to something where we're looking at food, so if this is going to be groceries as an example, and let's say over the last 3 months or so, I've spent, well, I gotta see what it was, like $150 a week, weekly right here. So if I'm spending $150 a week, it's $300 a month, or $300 every 2 weeks, $600 and $7,200 a year. Okay. This is a variable expense because I may eat out a little bit more, or I may order more groceries. So because it's a variable expense, we will track those separately. Okay. So I'll show you how we're going to be tracking those. And then you essentially go down the list. You just fill out each one. You choose the billing cycle, you choose the different expense type, you put the net amount in there, expenses are for your income, and then you write a description here. And then you just go one by one. So if you don't understand, or you don't know off the top of your head, and I don't expect you to, what your grocery expenses are for the last couple months, on average, you can always jump over to stage 2 and stage 3, which is this tab here, or you could go to the directions tab and click right here. And you could jump over to this section, so it'll give you a better idea about, what your average expenses were. And this is the live nature of the tool. Okay, you can always update your budget to be able to make sure that you're in the green here. And this is the most important line. So this is row 9. This is your leftover after expenses are paid. It's essentially your net pay less all of the expenses. So if this were the case, right, I'm making $4,300, but I'm only able to save or invest $2,300 because my expenses are $2,000. That's how we're reading this. So the goal is to have this be 20%. That's the goal. If you have more than 20%, you are doing amazing. If it's less than 20%, and I'm actually currently slightly below 20% in my example, and I'll show you that, you need to either go and make more money, or you need to spend less money, right? So we have specific strategies in here on how to spend less money. And then my other tools on financeblueprints.com will help you go and make more money. But we're talking about saving money and seeing where you are right now. So I can't really, let's jump over to the tracker right here. So on the top left, when you're setting this up, you're going to look at, this is a current month, and you update this cell every month. So it is March right now, but my latest was February. And it, depending on when you're going to be starting your journey, you're going to update this as well too. So if you happen to start in February of 2025, then you'll enter that there, and then it will impact your row 10. All of this is predicated on this start date right here. And then earlier I said you can choose the amount of months for your emergency fund. This is where you're going to do it. You can choose however many months that you want. So again, I was more risk averse. I was at 3 months. The general financial community recommends 6 months, and you can go as high as a year, but we don't recommend going higher than a year in this case. And the way that you reread this section, row 8 and row 9, is that this will help you track one-off events, meaning events that don't happen that often or that are unique to that year. But then this is annual things to remember. So if your property taxes are due in April, what this line will do, this will add it to all of the subsequent Aprils down the road, right? So every April you'll know that your property taxes are due, so that you'll never forget. It's a very helpful tool. And then if you have a one-off thing, or you can even use this tool, this row as a comment section where it's like, damn, big birthday spend, right? And then this is your net worth line, so you can see it go up or down. You could use it as a comment section, or use it as you wish. Okay. So the way that we're reading this is your total net worth. That's the goal, and that's your row 11. So this is all of your total assets, and we'll review what all of those are, and minus all of your liabilities, and we'll take a look at that right now. So we have a lot of things in here. This is a month-to-month change, so it's really good to see progression, but sometimes there's not, right? But if there's not, where are we moving backwards? And is it controllable, right? By you taking this step and tracking everything at this level of detail, it's going to give you a sense of ownership that you've never had before in your entire lifetime. You're not looking at an app that's spitting out a couple different, right, pluses and minuses or your total spend in those categories. Like, I don't give a damn about that, right? You need control and you need to have ownership. And this is going to give you the feeling of ownership that you've never had before, right? This was life-changing for me. And I've done this since 2017. And you could see your net worth grow and go down over time. And you could understand why all of those are changing, okay? So instead of going through this at this level of detail, let's jump over to my file right here. So real quickly jumping, we get the gist of this, excuse me, about how to fill this out, okay? I'll scroll here and you could pause and you could review some of these buckets if you have any more questions. But like lifestyle as an example, the goal here is to understand where you are. So what are you actually spending and what do you want to spend are two different things, right? My weekend and going out budget, this is bi-weekly. This is a lofty goal for me, about $150 for a weekend. It's difficult when you have a kid and you like Wingstop and you like having a couple of beers. That goes away very quickly. But the goal here is to have a lifestyle that you want and that it's going to be the most accurate budget possible. And if you're over, then you're making changes where you see fit. Okay, that's the goal of this right here. And then real quickly to touch on this bottom section for the bucket total, this is the amount that, I get every 2 weeks. This is automatically set up to go from our joint checking account to go into my own checking account where I don't think about it. I spend it on what I want, right? So if you ever have any questions, you can read this column X right here. It'll take you through what each one of these are. But me as an example, I tend to spend that on golfing trips, and I wanted a new computer, so I got a new computer. And then my wife will tend to spend it on her hair and her makeup and buying stuff for herself where you don't have to think about anything else, right? This just automatically gets tossed to her. So this is the budget for that. Okay. So this is the tab that we were talking about, and just giving you, let's give you a highlight of the file before we jump into the different buckets. So this is the net worth. I mentioned that I've been budgeting since, August 17, and, it really was May, but this was the worst month that I had. So I wanted to make that my start. And I keep saying, hey, negative $40,000 of credit card debt. I can go back and forth between all the dates that I've been tracking this thing, right? And it's a lot of months that I've been tracking it. And you could see down here what makes it that $26,000. So I had $10,000 of assets. I really didn't have anything. I had no cash. I had a little bit of a checking in my checking account, a little bit in a savings account. And my car was really the biggest asset that I had. And that was only worth $8,000 at the time. And there was nothing else, right? I didn't have any retirements. I didn't have any money invested in the stock market. I didn't have any alternate investments. I didn't own a home, right? This is taking it back. I didn't have any investment properties. I didn't have any additional cash flows or anything like that, but I did have liabilities because I was a student and I was going to Europe. I went to Europe like twice in one summer, put everything on a credit card. So you could see $20,000 in credit card debt here. You could see student loans, right? This is for undergrad. I had another $40,000 that I took out for postgrad for my MBA. And then I had another credit card here. So in total, here's the $36,000, roughly $40,000 that I was mentioning at some of the marketing material that you may have seen. Okay. So this is one of the joys, and you see your net worth change over time, but here's 26,000. You could see it gets better, it gets worse. But here in May 2018, so roughly a year of when I first ever tracked my finances, this is when I first had a net positive net worth. And this is where I did my free scream, and I was listening to Dave Ramsey, he would produce 3 episodes a day. I was listening to all of them. And I mean, this was just the most amazing feeling. So if it is red on your files when you first open this up, know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm very excited for you to get here. Okay. And then you can just see the growth over time. And this is one of the most powerful tools to say, hey, I was negative 26, and in October 2019, I was plus 47, and then it just goes higher and higher and higher, and you make some bigger jumps, and then you start buying some real estate, get your investment properties going, and you keep tracking it, and it keeps growing over time until you get to your most recent month, which is February of this last 25th. I track mine every month on the 25th. Okay. Yeah. So my current is 855. And the way that we'll update that on all of the report tabs when we review is we'll come to this cell and put it to the last month that you updated, February 25th. So now this 855 is going to be represented on all of my different, here's that 855 right here. Here's the 855 on all the report tabs, okay? So going through top to bottom here, there's a couple things that we have to remember. We have column C and column D that are going to be tracking liquidity. So this is a little bit of a technical term, but it's very important because we need to understand the difference in what cash can we touch and use today, right? What is literally in cash or sitting in a checking account or a savings account or in one of the accounts that you'll understand with the money map illustration once you purchase the tool. Or what are things that are not liquid or semi-liquid? And there's definitions, more detailed definitions with all the examples right here. But a vehicle is a cash equivalent asset that is semi-liquid, meaning that you could access the cash if you needed to, but there's a step that has to happen, which is selling the vehicle, which takes time. So when we look at making cash decisions, we have the difference broken out here. So this is like your total cash savings. This is all of your liquid cash, means the cash that I can access now. And that will be what we consider for our deployable cash, right? So on this tab, you said, hey, I want to save up 6 months on my budget tab. These are my, if I go to my monthly expenses, right? $11,200. So 6 months of $11,200, that's going to be, $60 of cash savings goal based upon your budget and what your goals are. And then based upon where you currently are within your most recent month, your liquid and your semi-liquid, your assets right here, that will impact this tab. So this will show you the amount of cash that you're missing in order to be able to get to your cash savings goal. Very specific to you. So taking a quick pause here, this right here in the red, there's a lot of text here and you can read that later. This shows you it will take you 8 months to close this gap based upon your budget. Based upon your cash position, it will take me 8 months to save up $26,000. And then you can start asking yourself, is it good? Is that bad? What decisions do I have to make in order to be able to get there sooner, right? Are there things that are there spending habits here where I need to make adjustments to my budget to even make this more accurate, right? This is alive and this is your working file and this is you finally taking ownership of your finances, okay? So let's continue going down here. The cars are going to be our semi-liquid assets. You have your retirement accounts. We know what those are. I have the basic 401ks and we have a 529 just because we just had a little boy. All of your money market or your stocks and your bonds accounts. This used to be a lot higher, but we ended up, purchasing a house recently. So you'll see that down here. Alternate investments. And then this could be your crypto. This could be your NFTs, which I'm not in at all anymore. It could be anything for your alternate investments. And then you have your primary residence down here. And you add all those up, that'll get you your total assets right here at the top. Okay. So if you have a business, this is where you can track your business and separate it out from your personal assets. You have your investment real estate and your additional cash flows right here. So if you don't have real estate, if you don't have a business, these are just going to be blank here. Okay. So that moves you to your total liabilities. So we have all of our bad guys. So your personal liabilities and your business liabilities. So you have all of your credit cards, you have your primary resident loans, then you have your student loans, if you have any, then you have any other liabilities. which I did. I like had to borrow 10 grand from my mom at one point, or I had a bridge loan for one of the real estate transactions that I did. This is another place where you can track that. And then here's your investment real estate, and then here's your additional cash flow liabilities. Okay. There's a lot of inputs here. Do not get overwhelmed. You are just going to be entering what you have. If you got a cash and you got a checking in the savings, and what, I want to open up a bucket account because I'm going to look at this money map illustration tab and I want to do that, you're going to put that there. If you have one retirement account, if you have one money market account, this is going to be just for you. So it's not going to be as intense as this. It may be more intense than this. Okay. And then on the bottom here, this is a very crucial tab, or a very crucial section, because this is where you're going to track all of your variable, which are your controllable expenses. So you update this when you're first starting out. Try to update this once a month. Okay. And what the file does is the file is going to average out your last 3 months of variable expenses that you've tracked. Okay. And it's going to tell you if you have been overspending or underspending, and it's going to give you recommendations on if you need to be able to change your budget or not. So as an example, if I go to I guess let's not jump around too much, but if this were the case, right? Groceries. If my average overspend, and let's just look at the true average for the last 3 months, I have, this is going to be the actual grocery expenses. So I would go through my bank statements, my credit card statements. I'm literally plugging in here one by one into the correct section, those amounts that I've spent in these correct spending categories. Okay. And what that's going to do is going to say, is it over or under versus what your monthly budget is right here. So if, as an example, I have, here's your average, I've overspent in this category by $700. Let's see how that would impact my budget. Okay. So let's scroll down and let's find groceries. And I have this plugged in as monthly. And on average, I have been overspending by $700. So realistically, I've been spending $1,400. So my current leftover amount is $1,200. If I increase this by $700 to get to $1,400, this $1,200 gets reduced to $500, right? So now you have to make some real decisions. Now that I'm tracking all of my expenses and I'm over my budget, right? You got to think about it. Can I spend less money on groceries? Do I need to increase my budget, right? And how do we be able to make those adjustments? But you have to remember that, right? Not all of these variable expenses are consistent. That's why they're variable expenses. So that's why you got to think about it from like a holistic lens. Like we have some stuff that we're underspending on. So in the last 3 months, I didn't take any vacation, right? I overspent and underspent on Amazon here, but you don't need to look at it from this level of detail. Once we get to the budget and expense tab, I'll show you the quick view on, your top 3 over-unders and help you with some decision making, okay? But that's how we treat this monthly tracker tab. So if you have questions while you're just setting up this budget and you said, man, I don't know how much I spent on groceries here, set up these first, the different types of expenses, and make sure that you have the variable where the variable needs to be. And we can go through these one by one just so you have a better idea of it. And once you have this outline set up, you could come over here and start on row 202, right? And these are going to be pulling in from your budget tab. And you can start tracking the ones that you don't know about yet, okay? And then it'll give you an average. So I said it was, the average 1,400, right? Here's the average 1,400 right here. That's where I'm getting that number. We're plugging this in for the 1,400. 1,400. And then you just get a good baseline, get a good feel for how much money that you're spending. And don't worry about what this is yet. The goal is to be able to set all of this stuff up first, set your budget up, start tracking at least a month, hopefully 2 or 3. And then we're going to start making decisions based upon what position that you're in on the different stages here. Okay. So let's scroll down here just so you have an idea. A lot of the housing is going to be fixed expenses, child and healthcare, kind of all fixed expenses. Maybe we did have a home nanny, so she would come, 3 days this week and 2 days the next week. So maybe that's variable. But if it's not, then make sure that it's fixed. Okay. Variable expenses here, groceries and weekday lunch. I used to split this out. Now I just plugged everything into groceries. Transportation, car insurance membership, registration. These are all fixed. Variable is gas, parking, and maintenance as well too. We've kind of gotten hit with this recently. We have some pretty old cars that have been paid off for a long time. Amazon and Target. Oof, this is one that you'll see on my list. Detrimental. We gotta slow this down and kind of think through that. But phones, those are pretty much fixed. Internet's going to be fixed. All of your subscriptions are generally fixed. And you can see a lot of these subscriptions right here that have 0. These are all ones that I've used this tool to make decisions on if I need to be able to continue using that subscription or not. And if you don't, then this is where you say, hey, I canceled Huckleberry. Then you make that 0. Right, and it would update your budget accordingly. Okay. Variable. This is going to be your lifestyle. So Christmas presents, make a decision on that, right? Set a budget and stick to it. Your birthday presents, right? We're spending these annual assumptions. $4,000 a vacation a year, right? Build the budget for the lifestyle that you want. And then the goal is to spend every dollar. And if you have extra money, then it's going to be going towards savings or investing. Okay. This is debt, fixed. This is one-time variable. Yeah, I took that out of my budget. So these are just the 2 different bucket accounts that we have. Okay, so that's all variable expenses. And then we now understand the liquidity difference between liquid and semi-liquid. And now let's jump over to the net worth tab. Okay. So remember we updated the most recent month to February 25th. So now this is the number that's represented for February 25th. So this is the last 12 months here. And up top, this is going to be the total assets. And then below is the total liabilities. And the net worth is the difference between those two. So this is a number that you want to see going up over time. And you can see it was roughly like 805 or 810, something like that. But instead of guessing to see, hey, how much did I grow? Use the table below to see what those actual differences were over time. So here's your current month. If I want to look at, what did I say? Prior year as an example, from February, this is trailing 12, so it's only from March, but from a year ago, it was $751,000. And this will show you the changes through the different categories that are broken out on your monthly tracker right here. So let's simplify this and look at versus 3 months ago. So versus 3 months ago, the total net worth increased by 2% or $18,000, which is pretty good for 3 months. So where is that coming from? $16,000 is going to be coming from the total assets. So red numbers are always bad. Black numbers are always good. Red numbers are also in parentheses too. So total personal assets went up. My cash position got stronger. My retirements went up. That's always good. Surprising with how the market's currently doing at this time. Stocks and bonds are relatively flat. Went up 2%. And then no change in alternate investments because I haven't made any. There's nothing in there really. And my primary residence, well, this is interesting. It actually went down from 3 months ago. And then my business assets also went down. So it looks like the property values that we have, those are going to be the biggest detriments to us. But my controllable cash is going up and it's offsetting. So I'm positive here, barely. That's good. What happened with total liabilities? You generally want to see this go down over time. These are the things that you owe. So I don't have any credit card debt. My primary residence loan went down. That's just the amount that my principal goes down. Student loans is in forbearance right now. Thank goodness. This is my MBA loan. And then we have total business liabilities. So this is the investment property that we have. We only have one duplex right now. But that's how you'd leverage this section below. And that's how we're thinking about this top left section, which is your trailing 12 months. So this middle section here, this is your mix of assets and your liabilities relative to each other. And it's just really good to be able to see in a visual format how your assets and your liabilities kind of shake out. And as you could imagine, your primary residence is both your biggest asset and your biggest liability. right? But if you don't have a primary residence, then this mix would be a lot different. Okay, so do you like the way this looks or not? This section over here, this removes your primary residence so you could see your asset split and you could make a determination on, is this the right asset mix for me? Do I like where all of my investments are sitting? So me personally, I love real estate. All right, my brother-in-law does not love real estate. So mine is pretty split between retirement is at 38%, investment real estate is 30%. If you can look at my brother-in-law's tool that he uses, this is like 95%. And he barely has any cash because he's deploying it. And then stocks and bonds is going to be even lower because all of the money is in retirement. He's going all in on that. And me in particular, I know that I would want my investment real estate portfolio to be a little bit bigger and outweigh my retirement because I view investment real estate as being a little bit more controllable. So where would you go to be able to make a decision on how to be able to deploy your extra money? You would do that at the bottom of your budget tab. So based upon where you are for your stages, I'm currently here in stage 6, which says save up at least 6 months of emergency fund. Okay, so that means I'm spending $11,214 per month based upon my budget. Right, here's that same number right here. So let's not do that. So if I go back to the instructions tab, I also chose 6 months on the monthly tracker tab. So 6 months of that is at $67,000. Here's how much I actually have saved up, and I need to save $26,000. These numbers should look familiar because we already flashed this tab, which is that same $26,000 here. Okay, the file's very fluid. Everything connects together. So my main goal is to be able to save money. I got to save up $26,000. So me personally, on this bottom section right here, this takes the amount that's left over, and this tells you what to do with it. So if you had bad debt, which I don't, priority 1 would be to pay all that off. If I were in that scenario, I would say this is 100%, and this is my check right here. So a negative amount means that's too much that I have in there, so I would put 0 here. If this is 0, then your math is good. This should all equal 1 or 100%. So I'm currently in the savings category, just like I mentioned. So 100% is going towards my savings accounts until I get that up. But let's say that I was not there. Let's say that I was on stage 7, which is creating your ideal asset mix. That's where we get to use this section right here. So if I'm no longer saving anything and I want to do like an 80-20 split between real estate and money market. So what this top section does, this is only your base salary right here. And then this is your bonuses. So as an example, I have 80-20, 80-20, this is just equals above. So once I get my $11,000 bonus, then immediately that goes into the holding account for my real estate, which I will build up to a certain amount before I actually pull the trigger on another investment property, right? Or if you're saving money for a down payment or whatever it is. Automatically, I don't spend anything because I'm living off of my 2 paychecks a week mentality. Okay, this is extra money for me, and that's immediately going into that. $2,100 is immediately going into my money market account, and I don't even think twice about it, right? This is not extra money. We're being much more savvy with our finances, and we're being much more stewards of taking control of our lives. Okay, and that's what we're doing here. And then this base salary section, this is just every single month. What you can do is you can say, hey, I've been tracking my budget, and I've been tracking my net worth for a couple months now, and I feel really good about where my budget is. I don't have any variances. I know for a fact that after all of my expenses, I'm going to come in right around where my current budget is. So therefore, I know that this number is accurate. And if that number is accurate, that means I can now move over $973 to my real estate holding account, and I can move $243 directly into my money market account so I can go and invest some more money. Or like I said, this goes towards your bad debt or your savings, depending on where you are for your stages. And then you don't think twice about it, right? Finances should not be difficult. Financing should be easy, but you have to put in the work. And it's not a lot of work, but it takes work. And this is how you do it. So that's going to be how we leverage this section right here, creating your own asset class mix. These are just high level highlights for you. So we're tracking net worth, and you just want to be higher than you were yesterday. Are you higher than you were yesterday? Good. If not, this is where you were, yada, yada. Good debt. This is a little bit of a topic for the finance industry, but good debt is, in my mind, is following Robert Kiyosaki's method, where anything that's going to be a debt on a cash producing asset, that's simply how we have it broken out. And bad debt is going to be your credit card debt, your car loan, even anything that's going to be accumulating interest that's not creating any cash flow. That's going to be your bad debt. So the good debt is good. You want to have good debt, and you don't want to have bad debt. If you have $1 of credit card, this is going to be red. It's going to say bad. It's going to say, hey, you got to go and pay it off. And this will even highlight for you, at my worst time, I had $28,000 of bad credit card debt, total bad debt. Okay. And that feeling was liberating, getting this to zero. And that was a long time ago, but it's still zero. And that's what you want to do. This cash tab we touched on real quickly. This is your cash savings goal. So you determine how much, you determine your budget, what your total spending is, 11,000. You determine how many months that you're going to be saving up. This is your liquid cash, and you're determining your liquid cash on the, column C right here. So anything that's liquid, all of your cash, your checking, your savings accounts, anything that you could pull from immediately, even your high yield savings account, that's a liquid account that you could be able to pull from. Okay? What else is liquid? Yeah, the investment property, the checking account that I have for the investment property, and any cash I had in cash assets for additional cash flows, all liquid stuff. So all of my liquid stuff is $41,000 right now. But again, I need 67. So here's that gap. And then this will tell you, again, the time horizon on how to be able to get there, how long it'll take you to get there. So you also have your semi-liquid cash, right? Which is all the stuff that you have access to, but you can't tap immediately. And you add your liquid cash plus your semi-liquid cash, and that gets you to your cash total right here. And it'll give you more details about, what you can consider in these different buckets. There's some couple tips here about where you should store your 6-month savings, and the general principle now that's like widely regarded as a high yield savings account. So we use at Finance Blueprints, we use M1. So if you don't already have a high yield savings account, go to financeblueprints.com, go to resources, and scroll down, and here's that M1. Here's the M1 link right here. So if you can deposit $10,000 or more, you get $75. And if not, still use it. I don't get anything from this, but it says up to 5%. As of today, it's 4%. So it's been going down. But this is much better of having that liquid funds and your savings making 4% than nothing in a typical checking account, right? So this gives you some guidance here. So what is this section right here? How much cash do I have left over every month to pay down debt or invest? This is just a summary of a cleaned up version of the budget tab. And this gives you a visual from a pie chart lens, like a percentage mix lens, about how you're spending your money. So you can see most of my expenses are housing. Then the next is child and healthcare. It looks like I need to fix that a little bit. And then what are we looking at? Lifestyle is a big one. Food total, I feel like we're spending so much money on food, but it's only 5%, right? Just a visual to help you understand what you're spending your money on. And then this is a really awesome tab that I was explaining earlier, where it has the 50, 30, 20 rule. So starting at the top, the goal is to save 20%. I actually made got a raise at my job, and then I ended up changing my tax withholdings from my W-2. So I'm now above 20%, which is fantastic. Okay. And then these are your wants. You should roughly spend 30% of your net on your wants. I'm spending 18%. So this mix is probably not the best if I'm wanting to live like a very happy life and not worried about spending money on things that are a little bit more frivolous. But that's just what it is right now. And my needs are actually higher than I would like them to be. I'm spending 60% instead of 50%. So your needs, as a reminder, were your housing, childcare, your food, transportation, and miscellaneous, like stuff that you need to spend your money on every single month, right? That's a little high. So I need to figure out how to be able to get that down. So here is the actionable part of the tool. So reducing expenses is your number one priority, right? It's much harder to go and make more money than it is to reduce your costs. So I typically spend twice a year as I'm updating this budget, looking at all the ways that I can go and reduce my cost. And I don't do that every single month because you do want to go make more money, but it's a much needed process because everybody is out there trying to be able to get you to spend more money. They're claiming inflation, and it is, but your insurance is going up. You didn't even make a claim. Groceries are going up. Like, it's fucking crazy out there. Okay. So number one priority is, are you hitting the current variable and controllable expense budget? So what do we mean by variable and fixed budget? And we talked about those differences, right? Fixed, not changing; variable changes based upon the volume of a measure. So like the frequency or the cost too. So here's a visual representation of your fixed versus your variable. And this comes from these drop downs on your setup tab right here. Okay. Your fixed versus your variable. You can see primarily my expenses are fixed, not fun. Things that can't change, things that you have to negotiate. And we'll talk about negotiating. And then your variable expenses right here. And these is going to be all of your controllable stuff. So we want to look at that first. So as we're going through here and we're at the bottom and we're tracking all of your variable expenses. What this does is this takes your last 3 months, it averages it, and then it compares it against what you have on your budget tab here. And it says, you know, this is the exact example that we went through earlier in this video where $700 is what I was spending over on Amazon looking at the last 3 months. So then you have to ask yourself, why the hell am I spending $700 more? Let's go and look at those transactions. Are those things that I bought as like one time, I don't need those very often, or are these consistent expenses? And if I need to be able to increase my Amazon, my groceries, and my weekend going out, wow, I've been outspending on all three of these categories. Okay. And if I have to make this adjustment, that's $2,000 a month that I'm overspending just in my top three categories. If I look at my all other variable, I'm spending $2,800 over my budget. I'm overspending right now, and that is not okay. So what does that mean? That means my budget. That means this number. That means my cash number, the amount, how long it's going to take me to be able to save up X amount, right? Like if you're trying to be able to save up for a house, this suggests that I don't have an accurate budget. Therefore, all of my assumptions are wrong. Now I have to go back and really look at my budget. Do I have to go increase my grocery bill? Or was it really high because of all the different Christmas parties and birthday parties that we went to over this last year or the last couple months? And I'm rationalizing it as yes, but what about a couple normal months, right? Let's focus. I'm going to spend the next, like, this is what I'm going to review with my wife as an example. Like, we got to chill on Amazon. We got to chill on groceries. We got to chill on going out, and or we have to update our budget, and it's going to slow down the progress that we're going to have on the rest of our lives. Okay. And just the conversations that you need to be able to have. So is this normal? What can you do to get this in check? Can I stay under budget next month? And make efforts and strides towards being a steward of your own budget. So this section below is just all of the variable expenses versus the budget. And then you could see this equals, right, all of this list right here, and it just quantifies it for you. So unfortunately, last 3 months, I just didn't spend anything in vacation. So is this true savings? No, we're going to take a vacation. Maintenance on the car, we actually didn't spend anything. Is it true savings? Maybe not. And that's going to be the variable expense portion, right? So your fixed cost, just like mine, will generally be much higher than your variable. So how can you be able to go and reduce those costs on the fixed side, which is very important? So the easiest way, and your second priority when you're doing this twice a year, is to start trimming your fixed costs like subscriptions, and then negotiating discounts on things like your insurance and your internet, which are the two most easy ones that I want you to do and I challenge you to do. So subscriptions, I got a lot of them. This is for you. It's going to be pulled down all the way, and this is ranking them based upon the highest amount. Excuse me if you could hear the baby crying. And then just ask yourself, right? Annually, I'm spending $2,300, $2,200 on subscriptions, and should I be spending that money? If I knock down this one, I can knock off $129. I guess that's not too big, but If I don't have to use Hulu, which I'm paying $27 a month for, that'll save me $300, right? So I may be overspending in my variable expense categories, but if I can save on some of my subscriptions, then I could be able to offset some of those, right? If you reduce your subscriptions are under your want section. So if I got rid of I guess that's not a great example. What's a high monthly one? Spotify right here. So if I got rid of Spotify, which is $20 a month, not a huge impact, but you're making your budget go the other way, right? You're improving the amount that you're able to save every single month. Right? So you have control. Take control and use this file to do so. And then that last section is you could read through here, but you have a total of 30. Oh, I have a total of 36 fixed costs and services, but that doesn't mean that they're set in stone. So I give you very specific ways to be able to negotiate, right? Who do you need to talk to? What are levers that you could pull, and how you can be able to get your fixed costs reduced, because it's always worth it. Don't let your insurance provider constantly harbor you every single year saying it's going to go up X amount just because the costs are going to be going up, right? You have a say because you are a steward of your own budget and your own life and your own future. And these are ways that you can be able to go and take advantage of that. Okay. So hopefully you're able to walk away from this saying, damn, I can really take control of my finances. I feel confident and I'm not overwhelmed by a lot of these inputs because it seems like a lot, but how long does it take me to be able to update this every single month? Even these transactions right here, I mean, those are hard coded right here, but let's go to the most recent one. Even these transactions in total, I can get this done in 30 minutes once a month. And then I do this, the weekend going out, and then I do this every month on the same day. Just choose the same day. I choose the 25th. It's just before all the credit cards are due, and which are typically around the 1st, and it's just what I've been doing since May 2017. Okay, but you can always find the original or more general information on the corresponding tabs. All right, we help people with personal finance. We do real estate, where I help people, hopefully get in a position where you can look at this net worth tracker and say, hey, I'm ready to start investing in real estate. Come over here to check out the real estate tab where we can help you get your first investment property, which is what we've been doing with investors since 2017. And if you're somebody who's already got your finances in order and you're doing apartment syndication, we help with that too. If you're a startup, we just launched the startup section where we help raise capital. We can help raise capital. We have another company for that. But this particular Finance Blueprints company, this is a tool right here that has its own dashboard that allows you to be able to create VC-ready investor docs, no matter what industry that you're in, that has scenario analysis, and it's just the same thoughtfulness that you've seen in the same skill set that I was able to show you that was applied to these tools is applied to every single one of the tools that we offer at Finance Blueprints. So we really appreciate your time and checking us out. And you can email me at jeff@financeblueprints.com if you have any questions. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and best of luck. I'm excited for you. You got this.